As the trade deadline barrels toward us, the Toronto Blue Jays face a critical crossroads, one that could define the rest of their season. Everyone expects the Jays to be buyers, but with a depleted farm system and fierce competition, how are they going to outbid some of the other heavyweights? The answer might not be what you'd expect. What if the key to unlocking a blockbuster deal is already hidden on the Jays' own 26-man roster? In this video, I am making the bold case as to why the Toronto Blue Jays should seriously consider trading away Ernie Clement and how it could ultimately benefit them moving forward. So this might be an unpopular opinion, but I honestly think that the Jays should seriously consider trading away Ernie Clement. Now, I get it, the guy has been honestly really solid with Toronto so far this season. Defensively speaking, the dude's been a stud. He's in the 99th percentile in outs above average, and his fielding run value is in the 97th percentile. So you could make a serious argument that Ernie Clement, if you can believe it or not, is the best defender right now on the Toronto Blue Jays, right? With Dalton Varsho being injured, and I know that Alejandro Kirk has been incredible, like Ernie Clement is right there with the best of them. Honestly, the best of them in MLB. So that side of his game is great. And honestly, offensively speaking, the dude's been pretty solid as well. In the last 30 days, Ernie Clement has the second most hits on the Toronto Blue Jays. He's batting .280, he's got an OPS of .782, and he's just been contributing across the lineup. So, with all that being said, why on earth am I suggesting the Toronto Blue Jays should trade him? After all, we have this guy under contract for, what is that, 1, 2, 3 more seasons after this year. And for somebody who is so sound defensively and who is, you know, kind of breaking out on the offensive side of the ball, like, what are we doing? Well, my big argument right here is just the roster makeup as a whole. Now, right now, there isn't too much of an issue because, as you can see, you got Barger there in right field. You got Lucas. This is the Fangraphs projected starting lineup. Okay, so you got Barger out there in right field. You got Ernie Clement at third, and then you got Andres Jimenez at second. And those are kind of the guys right now that are competing for that second base and that third base bag. But what happens when you have Anthony Santander and Dalton Varsho come back from the IL? Both of those guys are going to need to be in the lineup. Both of those guys, are going to, either one of them's going to, occupy a DH spot, and then the other one's going to occupy a spot in the field. But either way, it is almost assuredly going to be kicking out Addison Barger from that outfield spot. And then you're wondering, okay, well, where is Addison Barger going to go? Because now Ernie Clement's over at third base. And this was the problem or the question that was coming up when Andres Jimenez was coming back from the IL, and it was like, all right, well, what are we going to do here? Because Andres Jimenez, he's going to need playing time, and, Ernie Clement's playing well, and Addison Barger is breaking out in a huge way. They all need playing time, and you've already invested in Santander, and you hopefully are going to invest in Dalton Varsho moving forward. And to me, when I look at this, I just see Ernie Clement as honestly being kind of the odd man out, right? Like, I know that the guy's been phenomenal for the Toronto Blue Jays, but I see him as a piece right now that they could be willing to ship off, that they could be willing to, I guess, sell, but also buy at the same time, right? Like, when you're looking at the Toronto Blue Jays prospect system, there's some names in there, but honestly, there's a lot of guys that I just don't want them touching, and that's because we haven't seen a lot of top-tier prospects come up in a long period of time. And seeing this breakout from Addison Barger, I mean, I miss having top prospects come up and actually deliver. So I want Arjun Nimalu to stay. I want Trey Savage to stay. But then if you're not going to trade them away, how are you going to get some talent at the trade deadline? Well, Ernie Clement, and this is the big argument, Ernie Clement's under control. He's playing really well right now, and the Toronto Blue Jays, where they are right now, could honestly get rid of him and still be perfectly fine. Because let me paint you this picture, all right? Now Addison Barger, now you don't have Ernie Clement at third. Now Addison Barger moves over to third base, and he's been playing third base great, by the way, right? The cannon laser beam of an arm over there at third. He's been phenomenal. And now you can either put, Anthony Santander and or Dalton Varsho into the IL, and then the other guy, well, then he can maybe take over that, DH spot and kind of split that with George Springer, or, you know, just kind of, you know, bandwagon your way through all of that, right? Maybe Anthony Santander sitting on the bench a little bit more because he's off to a slower start. Either way, though, it frees Addison Barger up to actually be that third baseman of the future, with I think a lot of us right now are believing in, right? And Barger is that dude. Like, on the season so far, Addison Barger has an OPS of 807 and a WAR of 1.4. So he has just been insane. Now, it is kind of crazy for me to suggest trading away a guy with a 1.6 WAR, which is the second best on the Toronto Blue Jays this season in Ernie Clement, just behind Alejandro Kirk. But the reason that I'm suggesting that is that I actually think that people would see the value in Ernie, right? Like, this isn't just a no-name anymore. This is an elite defender on a cheap contract that you can sell to a team for future and buy off maybe an elite pitcher. Because looking over at the Toronto Blue Jays roster, right, what do we need? I still think that they need a starter. And honestly, if the deal would be Ernie Clement for a starting pitcher, that just makes so much sense for me. Take that asset in Ernie Clement, where you're kind of, you know, you got this logjam there in the infield, move it over to the starting pitching side. And there should be a decent amount of starters available. This is an article by Bleacher Report right here. They're suggesting 37 starting pitchers who could be dealt at the trade deadline. Now, there's a lot of names in here. Not all of them make sense for the Toronto Blue Jays, but one name that we brought up countless times now is Tyler Anderson over there on the LA Angels. Guy's got a 3.99 ERA, a WAR of 1.3. Now, he's a free agent after this year, and honestly, I wouldn't want to just trade Ernie Clement for just Tyler Anderson, because we're talking about somebody that has, you know, 3 more years of control after this, and has also been playing incredible defense and has been kind of breaking out with the bat. So if I was the Toronto Blue Jays, I would approach the LA Angels and go, hey, listen, we got Ernie Clement right here. You know, we know that you guys have Anthony Rendon over there and who just barely plays baseball anymore. How about we get you this nice cheap guy that can, you know, you can slot into your infield. You give us Tyler Anderson, and then you also give us either another MLB ready player or maybe one of their prospects, and you can kind of work it out that way. Similarly speaking, look over at Patrick Corbin right here. He's got a 3.52 ERA, a whip of 1.174. Again, a free agent in 2026 on a very cheap deal, only $1.1 million, so Toronto would love that. I'm not suggesting that this is a one-for-one in any means. You know, like, I don't want to trade Ernie Clement for just a one-year guy with the way that he's playing, but you could approach Texas and you could give that similar argument, being like, all right, listen, we got Ernie Clement. You give us Patrick Corbin to help us fill out that rotation, and then you also give us either another MLB-ready player or one of your top prospects. And I just feel like that would ultimately help the Toronto Blue Jays roster more right now than what they're doing. Whoa, time for a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below to join the action. Only available in Ontario. Must be 19 years of older to participate. Please play responsibly. Now, everyone, back to the content. In conclusion, folks, I look at this roster and I see a great player in Ernie Clement. I really, really do. I see a phenomenal player. But I also see that the Toronto Blue Jays had made a commitment to Andrés Giménez. They want to have him on this team long term. That's the commitment they made when they traded away Spencer Horwitz. Like it or not, that's the decision. I also see Addison Barger, who is breaking out in a huge way, who a lot of people want to be the starting third baseman moving forward. I see Dalton Varsho in the outfield. I see, you know, Anthony Santander, who even though he's not playing good, who they invested in a ton of money, and obviously they want to be that guy. I just see Ernie Clement right now as being an expendable piece that, even though I love him, you could trade him away to help this roster out right now in the starting pitching side, and honestly not lose that much offensively or defensively either, if you believe in Addison Barger at the third base bag. But folks, let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, go Jays go.